What's up, guys? It's Andrew from the Hesitant Handyman. We're going on a continuation of the Traeger restoration. If you were around last time, you realized I had a project on my hands. The owner at the time was giving it away because he figured somebody would just haul it away for scrap. I didn't know what was wrong with it. I've never worked on a grill like that before, and so it was something where I was kind of momentarily questioning my own sanity. I'm looking at this going, I don't know anything about these. What am I doing? I wound up, after my initial hesitance, we wound up loading it up. It took two of us to load that thing. It was a monster. It actually required me to stand on a cinder block to get it high enough up because I was not tall enough to get it up there. We got it on the truck, I got it home, another friend helped me come and unload everything, and I got it in the garage. It was in questionable condition to start out, for sure. There was a lot of rust on it. I mean, when I'm talking a lot of rust, there was a hole in the grease tray. The bottom half of the bucket for grease was missing. One of the first things that I figured out on it is that the auger was in fact stuck. So in addition to all of the rust that was on it, I had to make sure that the auger would work. That was not going to be a problem, it was just going to be an annoyance more than anything. And what I didn't see in there was a heat baffle, which is one of the things that basically covers the fire pot and helps distribute the heat more evenly inside of the grill. So right off the bat, I knew there were going to be some pieces that would need to be replaced. I knew that I needed to strip a lot of the rust down off of it, and I wasn't 100% sure what the easiest way was. That actually wound up being a simpler process than I thought it was going to be, but not before I made a few attempts with other stuff thinking it might work better, and then I wound up circling back to what I knew. When I was trying to get the rust off of there, I tried a number of different methods that I had read about online from different sources, products I wanted to try, things like that. I started out with a pretty simple home remedy that's supposed to be really effective, which was spraying it down with vinegar, hitting it with some baking soda, and then scrubbing it with tin foil. I tried that. It did definitely take some of the rust off, but there was still a ton of it there. That didn't work very well for me, and it was a very manual intensive process. Another thing that I tried was wire brush wheels, and that was another thing that people were singing the praises of. They're great for removing rust, go ahead and use that, and I did, and it did remove a pretty good amount of rust as well as some of the paint that I was trying to get off of there, which was good. But that also, it felt like it was taking off mostly surface stuff and not a lot of the deep-seated issue that I was trying to get to. Another thing that I tried was rust dissolver spray. That is something that basically it's a chemical reaction that neutralizes the rust, takes it off, and basically lifts it off the metal. It was a great idea in theory, but it did wind up being a problem in this particular size. I sprayed it on actually some of the light surface rust on the doors, which was all well and good. It worked really well for getting that surface rust off, but it did also change the color of the door, which is something that was actually warned on the label, but I did not notice it until after I had made the mistake of leaving it on part of it for too long. Again, on the heavier areas that I saw, there was not a lot of impact on it. It took some of the rust off for sure, but there was still a lot left over. Now, as far as getting into the rusted areas themselves, inside of the grill, it was really problematic to start out because I didn't take everything apart. I realized after a little bit that it was something where taking it apart would make it a lot easier, and so I went ahead and disassembled. One of the first things that I took out was actually the auger, and that was because I knew it was stuck. I needed to get it out, and I mean, I tried twisting it and it wouldn't go anywhere. I wound up using a combination of methods that honestly were probably questionable. It was a combination of me banging on one end with a rubber mallet, putting a piece of wood against the tip of the auger and banging on it with the mallet from the other end, using a blowtorch to try to burn off some of the pellets that were stuck in the auger, and then also taking a small screwdriver, sticking it through the drive shaft on the auger, and then cranking it back and forth. It took a while, but I finally was able to loosen it up enough that I could crank it and actually turn it out When I turned it all the way out, then I stuck it back in and used the auger to bore my way back through what was still stuck in there until I knew that I had a clean surface and could pull it in and out with no problems. That was how I wound up getting the auger out. I took the hopper cover off to get to the auger. I took the side box off. I actually pulled the whole auger tube out to give me better access to it. In pulling that out, I discovered that the heat baffle that I thought was missing was not actually missing. The previous owner had actually installed it upside down. It was still really rusted. By that point, I'd already purchased replacement metal to fashion the grease tray and a new heat baffle, so I wasn't super concerned about restoring it. I probably could have stripped all of the metal down to the bare metal by getting all that rust off if I really wanted to, but ultimately, since I was doing something else at that point, I decided to just leave it be. Another thing that I figured out, and you can probably see my other video about this if you're curious about it, is the roll top, which is a pain to clean while it is in the grill. It was a general consensus from the people that I talked to from Reddit who had seen this model of grill before that you could not take the roll top out. It actually turns out that there was a way to get it out. If you are interested, the video will be linked here as well towards the end, but I'll also make sure to drop a link in the comments so that you're able to get to that. To clean off the stainless steel on the roll top, I wound up actually using sandpaper and other abrasives. So I basically got the dark spots off with 80 grit, hit it with a 200 grit, followed it with a 400 grit, and then I hit it with a triple aught steel wool, and that wound up working incredibly well. So everything on the top came off. Was a lot easier than I was expecting it to be. Like I said earlier, it was something where all of the other methods that I tried to get the rust off, they made impacts here and there, but it was not a huge impact to the scale that this thing was rusted. It would have taken me forever to continue on that. I was worrying about it, trying to figure out what I was going to do to get it done, and it was actually one of those nights where my wife comes out to check on my progress on it, and she looked at me and said, "Did you try sandpaper?" Now keep in mind, when we went into this project, I didn't have any of the rust remover. I did not have any of the wire wheels. The only things that I had on hand was the vinegar, the baking soda, and the tin foil. The other stuff, I had to go out and buy that. Sandpaper, I had sandpaper on hand in just about every grit you could imagine, and I didn't think to try it. That almost seems like too easy. Why would I have even tried that? And so I tried it. I busted out my sander and put 80 grit sandpaper on it, and I cranked through an entire side of the grill. Paint, rust, everything came off in a matter of about 10 minutes. So that wound up being my most effective thing. Now, there are people who say, well, yeah, but you'll scratch up the metal. Honestly, once I got the paint on it, you didn't notice a lot of the scratches, and realistically, the scratching wasn't really that bad on the surface. So it was something, it worked immensely better than anything else that I tried. Sometimes it's just gonna be the simplest method, the method that you already know that's actually going to work the best. And in my case, it was sandpaper. Felt a little foolish afterwards, but I did get it stripped all the way down to bare metal. You know what comes after bare metal? Paint. But that's for another episode. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you taking the time. I hope that you found this informative. If you did, go ahead, hit the like button, subscribe. I'll have more content coming out on the Traeger restoration coming up very soon, and I really hope that you will come and join me to see how it all turns out. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Take care.